Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and to another point of view review. This time, as you can hopefully see, I'm joined by the brand new facelifted Kia Sorento. This is the 1.6 litre petrol hybrid. This is also available as a 1.6 litre petrol plug-in hybrid and a 2.2 litre diesel. Anyway, let's get into the car and go for a drive. This is the entry-level version 2. There are 3 trim levels available, 2, 3 and 4, but like I said, this is the entry-level version. Despite that, you still get quite a lot as standard. So as mentioned, this car is powered by a 1.6 litre petrol hybrid. It offers 215 horsepower along with 367 Newton meters of torque. If you prefer that in pound-feet, I will insert a caption below. Now I'm sure many of you aren't really fussed about performance, but in case you are, this will hit 62 miles per hour in 9.7 seconds and the top speed is a little north of 110 miles per hour. I'm sure you are more concerned about fuel economy, so on a combined run this car will offer you up to 42.2 mpg and CO2 emissions, if I'm not mistaken, are 153 grams per kilometre. I'm not confident on that stat, so I may need to correct myself there. Now, you can go for the 2.2 litre diesel, which does seem a bit of a niche option in 2025, let's face it. Diesel is being phased out really, but that would be important for those of you looking to buy your Sorento for its towing capability. So if you want to tow a caravan, for example, you'll want the 2.2 litre diesel. Now, if you do go for the 2.2 litre diesel, you will get slightly better fuel economy, but the drawback is the emissions are higher, so swings and roundabouts. If you go for the 1.6 litre petrol plug-in hybrid, the theoretical combined MPG is 176.6 mpg. And if you're thinking, that sounds too good to be true, bear in mind it does include the electric motor as part of that equation. In regard to CO2 emissions, the plug-in hybrid falls down to 37 grams per kilometre. In regard to how the Sorento drives, it's pleasant, it's easygoing, it's docile. Because this is the entry level, and as such it has 17-inch tyres, 17-inch alloys I should say, which on a SUV of this day and age seems a little bit unheard of. The 17-inch alloys, they do have very thick tyres on them, and that means better ride comfort, because the more rubber you can get around the alloy, the better the ride comfort. This soaks up the bumps really nicely, which is just as well because there are plenty of them in the UK. But the ride is supple, it's compliant. Although this isn't the most dynamic car going, and let's face it, it's a family SUV, it doesn't need to be dynamic. When you get it down the right road, it is competent in its handling characteristics, but yeah, if you're looking for something a bit more leery, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be looking at this car to begin with. Now let's talk about starting prices as I just merge onto the A road. So the Sorento, at the time of filming at least, has a starting price of £42,675, but because I'm in the 1.6 litre hybrid, that has a starting price of £43,685, so about £1,000 more. Well, £1,000 10 pence. £1,010. So it's been a long day. I'm filming this at the end of my day, and my brain capacity is pretty low, as I'm sure you have gathered by this point. Now, what do you get as standard for the entry level 2? Well, even though this is the base model, you do get plenty to be getting on with. So I've already mentioned these 17-inch alloys. Why is this going that slowly? Make sure I'm okay. You get the 17-inch alloys, LED lights. You also get reversing camera, front and rear parking sensors, 12.3-inch touchscreen, automatic climate control, keyless entry, heated front seats, heated steering wheel. Yeah, the list goes on. You will not be wanting for kit in this car. Another area where the Sorento does well is refinement. So if I just shut up for a few moments, hopefully you can notice it is pretty docile and serene in here. Earlier at 70 miles per hour with my sound meter, I recorded a decibel reading of 67.3, which I'm pretty sure makes it one of the quietest cars I've ever tested, so that is impressive. It's comfortable as well, so if you're thinking about doing lots of family road trips in this car, then I think this would be a good choice. When the time is right and when the car is able to, it will go into EV only mode. In fact, you may have noticed it at some points in this drive. If it has gone into EV driving mode, you get, oh, there we go. What a cue, what timing. Yeah, it's just slipped into EV only mode, so you can just maybe see just there, you've got the green EV icon. And the changes are really seamless and smooth. You don't really notice when it's going from engine to EV or EV to engine. Even with the engine fired up, you can't really hear it. At cruising speeds, it just melts into the background very nicely. And it is genuinely difficult sometimes to tell whether or not you're in EV or engine mode. Very refined and very efficient. I think that's a good way to sum up this car. It is efficient. As you may be able to see, my current MPG is 44.3 MPG, and whilst I've had this car for the last few days, this car is on loan to me from Kia UK, I've been averaging about 39-40 MPG, so pretty on par with what Kia expects, well, what Kia states you should expect. For my regular viewers, you will note this isn't my normal route for my point of view drives, but yeah, time's getting on. I'm having to film this on my way home, hence why my brain is a little bit bleh, because yeah, I've done quite a lot of filming today. It's been quite warm, and I'm ready for a sit down with a cup of tea, if I'm going to be honest. So my brain matter is lacking. Oh, that's probably the first time you've heard the engine in this video. Well, before I forget, you have a choice of 6 driving modes, 3 normal and 3 off-road. So, just to get into this lane. So you have a button down here. At the moment, it's in drive. So I've got Eco, Sport, or Smart. I would say the Smart mode is kind of an auto driving mode, and it will react and respond to your driving inputs. But you do have a choice of off-road driving mode. So if I hit the button again, you're presented with terrain. I now have snow, mud and sand. Obviously I'm on tarmac, so I don't need to worry about such matters. Therefore I shall slip it back into Smart. Steering is well weighted, even more so in Sport, of course, obviously, but it's still light enough when you're manoeuvring the car around town. And although this is quite a big unit to manoeuvre, it's quite easy to do so. Yeah, this has been a very easy car to live with, but the proof in the pudding will be tomorrow, because I'll be travelling up to see family, so I'll have my family in the car, and it'll be interesting to see yeah, what it's like when it comes to tackling proper family life, because so far this week, whilst I've had the car, it's only been me in the car. But I found it pleasant. I think that's a good word to use for this car. Pleasant. It's not overly exciting. It just goes about its business in a very comfortable, efficient manner. I genuinely can't think of anything that I have found to be a negative with the Kia Sorento. It does like to bong and make noises, but that's just a Kia thing. The same goes for Hyundai. They do like to make various noises now and then. The car's actually been pretty quiet on this video so far. I would say the Sorento is a relaxing car to drive. Yeah, definitely. There we go, gone back into EV only mode. Oh, one thing I haven't spoken about is the gearbox. So whether you go for the hybrid or the plug-in hybrid, you'll get a 6-speed auto, which I believe is a torque converter. But if you go for the 2.2 litre diesel, you'll get an 8-speed DCT. The 6-speed in this works pretty well. It's not quite as smooth or as slick or seamless as a DCT, but it's smooth enough and it works well. Sometimes you do notice the changes, but only if you're really concentrating somewhat hard. And yeah, I'd say the 6-speed in this is good. It does work well. Probably heard the various beeps the car's making there. Yeah, it's a Kia thing. They do like to make themselves heard. But I would say that's a pretty small complaint to have. It's something I think you'd get used to very quickly. And if you've owned Kias before, then yeah, you'll know exactly what to expect. Or if you've owned a Hyundai before. If you want to know more about the other elements of this car, such as boot space, rear space, space in the middle row of seats, then be sure to check out my main review. But just to briefly go through the boot space whilst we're driving, obviously I'm not going to get out to show you the boot, that'd be silly and dangerous, but I will inlay some clips where you can see the boot. So in 7-seater mode, you'll get 179 litres to play with. In the more conventional 5-seater mode, you will get 813 litres, and in 2-seater mode, you get 1,996. Very impressive. So if you're perhaps need a bit of space moving house, or you're helping someone move house, or you want to do a dump run, or perhaps you have no friends, then yeah, you'll have plenty of space to play about with. Actually, you can probably fit a mattress in here and sleep in the car. Yeah, lots of space. Alright, let's pull in here so I can conclude the video. A little bit out of the norm for my normal point of view videos, but yeah, I wanted to make sure this was filmed so some of my audience didn't miss out, because I'm sure some of you quite enjoy, well, hopefully some of you enjoy my point of view reviews. If you have found this video helpful or useful, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. A big thank you to Kia UK for loaning me this car for the week, and of course a massive thank you to you guys watching this video. But like I say, yeah, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, all that jazz. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.